A mysterious masked maniac terrorizes residents of Plymouth 1 year after a Black Friday riot ended in tragedy. Welcome back to Movies Explained. Today's film is a horror mystery from 2023 titled Thanksgiving. The movie begins in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the local sheriff, Eric, shows up at his buddy Mitch's door, joking about crashing Thanksgiving dinner. Eric steps inside, greets Amanda, and offers her a homemade cake, bragging about his baking skills despite being single. Amanda hopes he won't stay single for long and introduces him to her folks. Meanwhile, we switch to the Riot family, where Jessica is seen with her famous baseball player boyfriend Bobby at the Thanksgiving dinner table. Things get tense when Kathleen, Jessica's soon-to-be stepmom, arrives, and it's clear Jessica does not like her much. Her dad, Thomas, joins them, and when he gets praised for the Black Friday sale, he gives credit to Kathleen. Over at Amanda's, Mitch is called to help carve the turkey, but he has to bail for work. The family isn't happy, but Mitch explains he's got no choice. Thomas is threatening to fire him. Cut to Riot Mart, where there's a huge crowd gathering for the sale. Lizzie and Lonnie are stirring up trouble among them. With only 2 guards hired by Thomas, things are getting risky. Mitch notices the commotion and hurries to help his colleagues. Back at Thomas's place, Jessica is feeling down about Kathleen joining the family. Bobby tries to cheer her up with a joke about quick engagements leading to quick divorces, but Jessica is still grieving her mom's absence and feels like no one can replace her. They spot their buddies pulling up outside and dash out to join them. Jessica and Bobby step out to greet their pals, Yulia, Scuba, Gabby, and Evan. Evan's all hyped about his football game and desperate for social media fame. He brags about punching a dude from their rival team, but Gabby refuses to film it. The rest of the gang cheer him on, and they head out to catch a movie. While cruising, they hit a traffic jam, and Evan suggests they stop at Riot Mart, which is owned by Jessica's family. Jessica reluctantly agrees, and they roll into the parking lot. Bobby opts out, but Jessica persuades him to not leave her alone. However, Bobby's swarmed by fans, showing he's a big deal on campus. When Jessica is left alone, another guy named Ryan swoops in, inviting her to hang with his crew. She declines, choosing to stay with Bobby, who arrives just in time to whisk her away, clearly not a fan of Ryan. After Jessica leaves, Ryan's friend Scott taunts him. Lonnie catches sight of Jessica and her group sneaking in through the employee entrance, causing him to flip out. Evan fires back, revealing Lonnie as the person he had decked at the game earlier. They exchange some heated words and proceed inside, ignoring Lonnie. Shortly after, Amanda and Eric arrive with food for Mitch. Jessica and her group taunt Lonnie from inside, increasing tension as the crowd outside notices them. Despite Eric and Mitch's attempts to calm everyone, Lonnie grabs the microphone and announces the store's opening, causing a stampede that tramples Eric. Jessica panics upon seeing the mob at the store's door, while Amanda urges Doug to open up. However, Doug struggles with the lock, and the crowd breaks the door. Instead of calling for help, Evan records the chaos. Doug gets swarmed, and a person is severely injured by the broken glass. Amanda is pushed aside in the commotion. Gabby pleads with Evan to stop filming, but he ignores her. Bobby sees Doug in trouble and rushes to help, but he ends up with a broken hand when someone steps on it. Then, a shopping cart strikes Amanda on the head, killing her instantly. Mitch spots her lifeless body and calls for help. Seeing Amanda dead, Eric loses it and fires his gun to try and restore order. A year later, Evan's video has gone viral on the internet, attracting widespread attention. A news reporter announces that despite the previous events, Riot Mart is proceeding with its Black Friday sales once again. Many people, including Mitch, the Mart manager who lost his wife on that tragic day, are protesting against it. Mitch blames Thomas and his clan for his wife's death, but no one listens. It was soon disclosed that the Riot family was swiftly cleared of any wrongdoing by the police, as the incident was ultimately classified as an accident. Thomas appears content with his life, regardless of the negative atmosphere around him. The local news has praised him for his community work since last year. Meanwhile, Sheriff Eric hangs out at Lizzie's bar, waiting for the arrival of LaBelle, the new deputy. When LaBelle arrives, they discuss a parade, and Lizzie hands him a mask resembling John Carver. Before Lizzie can provide more details, LaBelle claims to know about John, the first governor of Plymouth. At the same time, Jessica and Gabby express frustration over an Instagram user who keeps uploading videos of the stampede and tagging them, even though they try to report and block the posts. Jessica then suggests that they film an ad with her dad at the old house of John Carver. As they arrive at their destination, they discover that someone has vandalized the house. Moreover, an axe that was intended for use as a prop has gone missing. Since the site is a historical monument, The sheriff is taking the matter seriously and has vowed to find and arrest whoever was responsible. Later, Jessica and her friends are spotted at Lizzie's restaurant. Jessica then unexpectedly sees Bobby leaving the restaurant, and all her friends are astounded to find out the last time Jessica had seen him was a year ago after the incident. Suddenly, everyone receives a notification from an Instagram account named the John Carver, stating their table is ready for Thanksgiving dinner. They dismiss it as a joke and don't take it seriously. Then, Ryan arrives, and it's revealed that Jessica and Ryan have been dating, despite Evan's suspicions about Ryan's character. While they're having a good time, Jessica spots a mysterious figure in a mask watching them. When she looks again, the figure has vanished without a trace. Later, the mysterious man is seen sharpening John Carver's axe and designates Lizzie as his target from the stampede footage. Lizzie is seen at her restaurant, preparing to leave when she notices a mask lying on the front table. She returns it to its place when the masked individual attacks her. He confines her inside the freezer, but Lizzie manages to break free and conceals herself in the control room. She tries to call for help, but is unable to dial because of the blood on her hands. She examines the camera footage and decides to leave the premises, hoping he's gone. Trying to reach her car, she is shocked to find the attacker waiting in the car and driving right at her. As she attempts to take cover in the garbage container, the masked killer bisects her in two halves with the car. The following morning, a crowd forms upon finding half of Lizzie's body placed at the Riot Mart's logo. As the investigation unfolds, the sheriff grows suspicious that the murder is linked to an incident at Riot Mart from the previous year. Upon reviewing the CCTV footage, they are startled to discover that the killer is wearing a John Carver mask. At school, Evan is thrown into panic upon seeing that the mysterious John Carver account has uploaded a photo of Lizzie's mutilated body and tagged him and his friends. Jessica notices that their names are all listed on the dinner table in the photo. She calls her dad to inform him about the murder and the unsettling Instagram posts. However, Thomas Wright remains undaunted, insisting that the Black Friday sales will go ahead as scheduled, promising instead to enhance security. Later, Jessica is seen at the police station for interrogation. Sheriff Eric urges Jessica to share any leads she might have, but at that moment, Jessica remains silent. Outside, she bumps into Bobby, who's back in town to lend a hand to his uncle and offers to keep her company. As they walk, Bobby confesses his regret over losing touch with everyone. Bobby shares that he ghosted Jessica for an entire year because he blamed her for his broken arm, which happened during a visit to the store that she suggested. However, he now regrets it and feels guilty about it. Picking up on Jessica's apprehension, Bobby presses her to share with him, vowing to keep it a secret. Jessica reveals that Kathleen deliberately erased the CCTV footage from the night of the incident, fearing a lawsuit. However, Jessica is aware that her father keeps a backup of the footage, and she's determined to get it to piece together the events of that night. As they return to the police station, Ryan joins them, kissing her on the cheek, worsening the envy they harbored for each other. Fortunately, Eric intervenes and escorts Bobby inside. Meanwhile, the attacker sets his sights on Manny as the next target. Later, we see Manny, one of the security guards from the disastrous Black Friday sale. Unlike his colleagues, Manny vanished as soon as the chaos erupted. That evening, as Manny prepares to leave town to escape the unsettling murders, he's startled to find a John Carver mask chillingly placed on his couch. Feeling the presence of an intruder, he calls out for them to reveal themselves. Seeking reassurance, he looks to his cat for guidance, but as he does so, he's ambushed from behind by the masked figure. As Manny tries to defend himself, the killer ruthlessly incapacitates him and leaves after feeding the cat. Afterward, the killer places Lizzie and Manny's lifeless bodies on the same table, with Jessica and her friends' names inscribed on it. The following morning, Jessica awakens and is horrified to witness the new post, featuring Lizzie and Manny's deceased bodies on the table. The next day, Ryan spots Bobby outside Jessica's home and storms off, visibly upset. Inside, Jessica accesses her father's computer, downloading photos from the incident night, and spots Ryan alongside Doug. Suddenly, Thomas arrives and instead of questioning his daughter, he apologizes to her for making her feel neglected. Reconnecting with Bobby, Jessica finds herself in Eric's office, where Bobby helps identify Lonnie and his cheerleader girlfriend in the photographs. Jessica, looking worried, presents the photos of Ryan with Doug, casting doubts and raising suspicions, especially since Ryan had never mentioned Doug to Eric. Eric warns them to be wary of whom they trust. Bobby's frustration peaks, suspecting Ryan's involvement in the murders, but Eric advises them to return to school, emphasizing caution and discretion. In the middle of all this turmoil, Ryan prepares for the parade when he runs into Bobby. The two get into a heated argument about Jessica, during which Ryan threatens to knock Bobby's teeth out if he doesn't leave town soon. Bobby, undeterred, insists he's not going anywhere for the time being. Next, we cut to Lonnie, the Hanover School troublemaker who played a part in the Riot Mart stampede. Lonnie was at the gym helping his friends when his girlfriend lured him into some fun. Despite his hesitations, she convinced him that it was just harmless teasing. As they started to flirt on the trampoline, a killer suddenly appeared and tragically ended Lonnie's life. The girl, still clueless about the danger, remained on the trampoline and fell victim to the killer's brutality as well. A hidden knife plunges through the trampoline, striking her multiple times and ending her life in a horrific attack. Following Lonnie's disappearance, Evan appears furious as Eric cancels their football match. They try to calm him down, but Evan leaves to play alone. Suddenly, McCarty steals the spotlight using a blunderbuss and assures Eric that it only fires gunpowder. Watching McCarty, Jessica tells Gabby she's familiar with handling the weapon, having learned from her father for a commercial. After sending McCarty away, Eric urges Gabby to locate Evan, stressing the importance of sticking together. Later, Gabby finds Evan, and the two sneak off for some alone time at the school. Their moment is abruptly ended when the masked figure renders them unconscious and uses Gabby's phone to lure Jessica to their location. Hesitant but concerned, Jessica arrives and finds Gabby's phone abandoned in a cart. Just as the killer prepares to strike, Jessica spots his reflection on the phone screen and narrowly avoids the attack. Jessica quickly escapes and finds refuge in the makeup room, hiding among numerous mannequin heads. The killer prowls the room searching for her. As Jessica reaches for a pair of scissors, she accidentally tips over a spray bottle, alerting the killer to her location. Just as he's about to strike, Jessica sprays him in the eyes and runs outside to get rescued by the police. Eric questions her about the killer's appearance, insisting that such small tips often lead to a killer's capture. Overwhelmed, Jessica begins to panic, and Eric steps away, allowing her some space to recover from the ordeal. Shortly after, Bobby appears, offering his support, but the situation intensifies as Ryan also shows up. Bobby confronts Ryan about his ties to Doug, and the tension nearly boils over into a fight until Eric steps in. He breaks up the impending confrontation and sends them away with a stern warning. Frustrated with their behavior, Jessica tells both Ryan and Bobby to stay away from her. Simultaneously, Yulia's father arrives and takes her away, informing her of their departure to Florida away from the murders. After Yulia leaves, Scuba devises a plan and guides Jessica to McCarty's party. He escorts them inside and displays weapons from his collection. At Scuba's suggestion to show them a conventional weapon, McCarty hands him the SIG 226. Scuba concludes that relying on the police won't solve their problem. While there, Scuba and Jessica catch up with Yulia, who is busy packing for Florida, but reassures them of her safety, mentioning that a police officer is with them. With all the enhanced security measures, the killer still manages to enter their home, killing the guard and her father with a silenced gun. While chatting with Scuba and Jessica, Yulia is suddenly attacked from behind by the masked killer, who broadcasts the distressing scene live to Scuba, urging him to rush to her rescue. When Jessica and Scuba arrive at Yulia's home, they find her held captive by the killer. The situation escalates as the killer shows them a live feed, proving Gabby and Evan are still alive but in danger. In this high-pressure moment, Scuba attempts to shoot the attacker, but finds the gun's safety is locked. Seizing the opportunity, the killer hurls Yulia at a running saw and escapes. Despite Scuba's efforts, Yulia tragically succumbs to her injuries after the saw pierces through her vital organs. Devastated by Yulia's death, Jessica and Scuba stumbled back to the others. The parade preparations were underway, but Kathleen refused to participate, citing her grief. Jessica, however, proposed a desperate plan, rescuing Evan and Gabby from further harm. As Jessica and Kathleen argued, Thomas sided with his daughter and instructed Eric to set up a trap for the killer. Eric agreed to clear the warehouse and hoped the killer would take the bait. During the parade, Lionel, who was involved in the altercation at Riot Mart, is set to play the turkey mascot. Meanwhile, Eric confirms to Thomas that his officers will secure the warehouse to ensure their safety. Before departing for the parade, McCarty gives Jessica his father's ring, claiming it once saved his life. As the parade begins, Jessica becomes increasingly nervous at the sight of numerous men wearing John Carver masks. But to everyone's surprise, the killer emerges as a creepy clown and gruesomely decapitates Lionel in the turkey mascot costume. Following this, he disperses smoke bombs among the spectators, causing total chaos. In an attempt to escape, Jessica's family and Scuba find their efforts thwarted when the killer infiltrates their vehicle, shoots them with a tranquilizer, and abducts them. Upon reopening her eyes, Kathleen finds herself on a dinner table and pretends to be asleep as the killer covers her body with spices. As he becomes distracted, Kathleen slips away from the table, initiating a game of cat and mouse. While hiding, she discovers Lonnie's lifeless body, but suppresses her scream. Venturing further, she locates the room where the killer keeps his victims and discovers Lonnie's girlfriend alive in the freezer, begging for Kathleen's help. Kathleen promises to come back for her and quickly hides again to avoid the killer, who follows her tracks. Upstairs, she frantically searches for an escape, finding none. She hides behind the wall as the killer approaches. Right when she thinks he left, he suddenly stabs the wall with his garden fork. As Kathleen attempts to flee, he throws the fork, injuring her, and drags her back, where she finds herself inside a massive oven, where she is cooked to death. While Jess opens her eyes and panics, Thomas attempts to comfort her. Sitting around the table, Jess, Scuba, Evan, and Gabby are all tied up to their chairs, forced to watch the killer continue with his madness. At the same time, the killer serves his victims, with Kathleen as the turkey and Lonnie's girlfriend's blood as juice, causing everyone to scream in fear. He decides to begin with Evan, telling him that it was he who inspired him to record his own video. The killer then brutally kills Evan by fracturing his skull. He informs the remaining captives that they are VIPs who will be treated accordingly. While the killer gets busy serving a portion of Kathleen's flesh to Thomas, Jess discovers a blade concealed inside McCarty's ring. She uses it to free her hands and passes it to Scuba. As the killer forces Thomas to consume the flesh, Scuba breaks free and attacks the killer, luring him away from the table. After navigating through tunnels, they reach the John Carver house, where Scuba's arm gets slashed, and Jessica manages to escape. The killer pursues Jessica, leaving the injured Scuba behind. Jessica dashes through the forest and eventually reaches the town center, where she encounters Sheriff Eric lying unconscious in the middle of the road. As she checks to see if he's alive, she suddenly notices someone wearing a John Carver mask entering a nearby warehouse. Assuming it's the killer, Jessica grabs the sheriff's gun and ventures inside. To her astonishment, she discovers that the person is Bobby. Just then, the sheriff rushes to her side and urges her to leave. Upon exiting, she hears gunshots, and Eric comes out, reuniting with Jessica, saying he shot at Bobby but he managed to get away. Afterward, the police arrive and inform Jessica that her friends and father have been rescued. Detective Pete arrives with Bobby's phone, mentioning he has John Carver's account logged in on his phone. Eric dismisses everyone and commends Jessica for her bravery. He assures Jessica that he will locate Bobby and bring him to justice. However, at that moment, Jessica suddenly notices brambles on Eric's shoes, the same brambles she came across while running through the woods, hinting that the killer is none other than the sheriff himself. Eric realizes he's been exposed and decides to come clean, revealing the entire story. He admits that after his wife's death, Amanda helped him piece his life back together. Losing her at the right mart enraged him, especially since she was pregnant with his baby and was planning to leave Mitch. When asked about Bobby, Eric informs Jessica that he had everything arranged to frame him as the killer, but Bobby attacked him and ran away, leaving him unconscious on the road. Nonetheless, Jessica led him directly to Bobby. As Eric prepares to harm her, Jessica tells him that she's been live streaming everything from her phone, exposing his identity to the world. Before Eric can harm her, Bobby comes to her rescue. They run into the warehouse as the sheriff pursues them with his classic axe. Jessica quickly diverts his attention by throwing something in another direction. Then, she turns on a gas cylinder, inflating a large balloon with flammable gas. They hurry to a nearby car, but as they are about to escape, Eric attaches the vehicle's cable to a building pole, halting the car's movement. As he approaches Jessica, she uses the blunderbuss to shoot the balloon, triggering an explosion that engulfs Eric in flames, burning him alive. After the incident, as the dust settles, Jessica bids farewell to Bobby and reunites with Ryan. Shortly after, Gabby and Scuba join her, confirming their safety. LaBelle then informs Jessica that they have searched everywhere, but have not found Eric's body, indicating that surviving such an explosion would be extremely difficult, suggesting his body was incinerated. The movie concludes with a mysterious firefighter seen walking away, holding Eric's axe. Thanks for watching! Like and subscribe for more videos.